Hi, everyone.
Hello.
I'm Lauren.
And I am Ken.
And you may recognize our voices from the podcast Paradise After Dark.
Dark.
Missing and Unsolved. But today we're here to tell you about a nonprofit organization we have created called the Florida Themis Project.
Themis is the Greek goddess of justice, if you're wondering about the name.
The Florida Themis Project aims to support loved ones and victims of unsolved crime by financially contributing to various types of investigative tools, including DNA testing.
We also help the families and loved ones of missing people by assisting with awareness campaigns, helping in ground searches, and any other assistance that we can provide to the families.
We're asking you for your help to spread the word and grow our organization so we can help as many people as possible.
So please be sure to check out our website at floridathemisproject.org for info about how you can help or donate.
We're also on Facebook and Instagram at Florida Themis Project.
Even simply sharing our post on social media is very helpful.
So thank you in advance, true crime friends, for your help and support. Hi, everyone.
Hello.
I am Lauren.
I am Ken.
And this is Paradise After Dark.
Dark.
Missing and Unsolved.
This is a Palmahawk Media production covering true crime,
missing people,
unsolved crime,
and cold cases.
Please check out our website, paradiseafterdark.com.
On the website, you'll find links to all of our episodes, even the archived episodes, our mailing list, merch store, and links to all of our social medias.
On the website, we also have a virtual tip jar, so you can leave us a tip and we'll give you a shout out on the show.
Investigators searching for a suspect in the death of an aspiring model have released this surveillance video, hoping it will jog someone's memory. Authorities say this video shows Paula Sladewski leaving a Miami club January 3rd around 7:20 a.m.
She was seen leaving the front of the nightclub, walking away with a black male subject. We are trying to find out his identity and to locate him. From what we can tell, up until then, he is the last person to have seen her alive.
Sladewski's burned body was found in a North Miami trash can that evening.
We are still asking the public for any information which they can provide, including what's very important to us, and that's the hours of 7 o'clock a.m. Sunday morning till 9 o'clock p.m. when she was found in that dumpster.
The 26-year-old woman's family has said she was strangled before she was set on fire. She had to be identified using dental records.
We can't even give her an open casket. We can't even see her again. She did not deserve to die in this way. Authorities
say Sladewski and her boyfriend, Kevin Klein, arrived in Miami on New Year's Eve. When he reported her missing Monday, he told officers that they got separated during a night out. The couple had apparently been arguing inside club space before he was kicked out. Klein has been named a person of interest in the case. Police say he has been cooperating with their investigation. Ross Simpson, The Associated Press.
This episode is being created in conjunction with the Florida Themis Project. Themis is featuring the unsolved murder of Paula Sladewski and will be doing a public awareness campaign for this case throughout the month of April. If you could help us out by sharing this episode with your friends and on social media, along with all of our other public awareness posts, we would greatly appreciate it. On the morning of January 3rd, 2010, a dumpster fire occurred in North Miami. A literal dumpster fire, not figuratively. In the dumpster, authorities found the body of a woman. The body had been burned beyond recognition, leaving investigators with the challenging task of identifying her. Due to the extensive damage inflicted upon her, dental records became a crucial piece of evidence in this harrowing case. Ultimately, after 3 days of thorough investigation, the woman was identified as Paula Sladewski, a 26-year-old professional model and former exotic dancer. The physical damage to her body was so severe that authorities could not determine her exact cause of death, but it has been presumed that she was strangled, and due to the circumstances, it was deemed a homicide. North Miami Police Detective Michael Gaudio said Paula was already dead before being set on fire. Sladewski was born on November 15, 1983 in Garden City, Michigan. As a child, Paula had a passion for collecting Barbie dolls. She amassed an impressive collection of over 500 dolls. She was captivated by the image of Barbie with her tall, slender figure and long blonde hair. Paula was determined to emulate her. However, Paula's upbringing was far from ideal. Raised by her mother, Patsy Watkins, who went through multiple marriages, life at home was anything but stable. At the tender age of 14, Paula started dating a 29-year-old man with her mother's consent. This revelation shocked her sister Kelly, who was rightfully furious and concerned for her younger siblings' well-being. Kelly even had to take matters into her own hands and call Child Protective Services to intervene. The consequences for the man were severe. He was arrested, convicted of having sex with a minor, and was sentenced to 2 years in prison. Moreover, he was placed on a list of sex offenders, making it clear that his actions were unacceptable. Yet, despite all of this, Paula eventually resumed a relationship with this man after his release from prison. At this point, she had reached the age of consent, but the events surrounding her involvement with this man were undoubtedly troubling. Paula aspired to be a model, but that never really panned out for her.
Well, she did work with a modeling agency in Michigan, where she did local car shows, local ads, things like that.
The most significant professional break in her brief modeling career came in 2003 when she made it on to the 2003 video of Playboy's 50th anniversary Ultimate Playmate Search. Paula's experience in the modeling industry, particularly her appearance in the Playboy video, did not bring her the success she had hoped for. Despite being selected as one of the 50 ladies out of 500 to appear in the video, Paula's aspirations of becoming a successful model were not realized.
The modeling industry is highly competitive and notoriously difficult to break into. Anyone who's ever tried it knows that. Now, even with the exposure and recognition that comes with appearing in a significant publication like Playboy, success is not guaranteed. Many aspiring models find themselves facing a challenging road, struggling to secure consistent work and build a successful career. To Paula, this was sort of the peak. She wanted to get in so bad and did everything she could to get in.
It's not uncommon for individuals like Paula to have limited success in their pursuit of a modeling career. The industry demands not only a specific look, but also factors such as marketability, connections, and timing. Paula's experience serves as a reminder that even with a significant opportunity, there's no guarantees of success in the modeling world. Despite not achieving the level of success she had hoped for, Paula's brief modeling career and appearance in the Playboy video may still have provided her with valuable experiences and opportunities. She went on to work in several strip clubs and gentlemen's clubs in the greater Detroit area, dancing at the Penthouse Club there and saving her tips to pay for her college tuition until she dropped out. It was during this time that she met her boyfriend, Kevin Kline.
Paula and Kline eventually moved to Los Angeles together and maintained a residence there, and they also maintained a residence in Michigan. And when she was murdered, Paula and Kline were in Miami for a weekend of partying for New Year's. And Paula and Kline's relationship has been characterized as a tumultuous one, according to various sources. According to Paula's stepfather, Richard Watkins, she allegedly sent a text message to an ex-boyfriend claiming that Kline was trying to kill her. Now, Watkins shared this information with Fox News and expressed his disapproval of the relationship, stating that he had advised them from the beginning that they shouldn't be together. On the other hand, Kline's lawyer, Mark Beganin, described the relationship as both loving and volatile. This suggests that there were moments of affection and tenderness, but also of intense conflict and instability.
So this is not something that I can back up as fact, but it has been said that this text message that she allegedly sent to an ex-boyfriend saying that Klim was trying to kill her, that message went to the ex-boyfriend who went to prison, who she was dating when she was 15. His name is David Coleman, by the way.
And ironically, he only lives 10 minutes away from their home in
California. Yes. And apparently he was going to be in Las Vegas for New Year's, which was their original plan, which we'll get to that in a little while. But I just wanted to put that in there.
Yeah, and Coleman said that he couldn't provide any news organizations or anything with the copies of the text messages because the North Miami Police Department, the detectives were using them as part of the investigation. So he claims he handed over the text messages. So what we're hearing is what he's telling us the text message said, but obviously we don't know that for 100% because the detectives have them as part of the investigation.
Right. Okay. So it's not uncommon for relationships to have these mixed dynamics, as emotions and personal dynamics can often be complex. While it is important to take these accounts into consideration, it's also crucial to approach them with caution, as they're based on individual perspectives and may not provide a complete picture of the couple's relationship.
Yeah, some articles state that they were both physical with each other. I mean, it was a hate you now, love you later type arrangement. And I know that both had been arrested for assaulting the other.
Right.
At one point or another.
So ultimately, the true nature of their relationship can only truly be understood by those who were involved. And so we don't really know what was really up between Paula and Kevin. The couple had originally planned to spend New Year's in Las Vegas, as I just mentioned, but changed their plans at the last minute when they scored tickets to see Lady Gaga in Miami. If she would have went to Vegas, she would be alive. Patsy Watkins, Paula's mother, told True Crime Daily in 2016.
And let's take a quick break. We'll be right back.
And we are back.
The night before she was found dead, Paula and Klein were partying at Club Space in Miami. Now, this is a pretty major club. However, it's only open one night a week. It's open multiple nights now, but at the time it was only open on Saturday with really wicked, weird hours. It opened up late at night and basically closed the next afternoon. So
I think it was open at 11. It was open from like 11 p.m. to 11 a.m. And it was, from what I've gathered, it was a place where people would party at all the other clubs. When the other clubs shut down, they would go to Club Space and they would keep partying well into the next day. Or sometimes people would get up early, go party, and then go have brunch. And that would be their Sunday. That's what I've heard.
Well, yeah, that's pretty crazy.
Interesting.
But it is Miami, and you know, when people go to Miami or party, it's a vacation time.
Miami
totally
is
understand.
weird.
Well, according to many reports, Paula was very, very intoxicated, and Klein was getting very angry with her and wanted to leave. Investigation Discovery reported in an article that Paula got quite intoxicated and let loose on the dance floor, and she supposedly flashed the crowd and kind of flirted with other men.
She was wearing a dress that was very low cut and showed off all her legs and her body, said the private investigator David Wasser, who investigated the case. She started lifting up her dress. She wasn't wearing any underwear, and it was quite a scene, said North Miami Police Detective Michael Gaudio. The people were all over her, you know. She was dancing with them. Guys were at the bar getting very close to her, said Wasser. We're not highlighting this behavior to shame our victim, but this may be the key or what may have caught the attention of her killer. So Club Space security described a physical altercation between Paula and her boyfriend Kevin at approximately 7 a.m., and Kevin was promptly escorted outside of the venue.
As the story goes, Kevin asked the bouncers to tell Paula that he is waiting outside for her, and Kevin claims that the bouncer returned later and told him that Paula didn't want to leave. So Klein got into a cab and returned to the hotel room, and I guess he was just there at the hotel and went to sleep waiting for Paula to return.
But Paula never returned. In a desperate attempt to locate Paula, Kevin took several steps to find her. He contacted various establishments such as police stations, jails, and hospitals in the hopes of finding any information about her whereabouts. However, his efforts yielded no results. Determined to discover what had happened to his girlfriend, he eventually turned to the authorities and attempted to file a missing persons report with the Miami police. However, he was informed that he needed to wait at least 24 hours before doing so. The exact timeline of when the report was eventually filed remains unclear.
And I just want to point out that until Lauren mentioned it to me, I kept assuming it was dark outside when they both left. I was thinking in the nightclub, and my brain went directly to being dark when they were being escorted out. And I'm sure some of our listeners right now are probably thinking the same thing. And I only mention this because several people say that Kevin should have stayed there and waited for her. I mean, I was one of them, but I have a slightly different feeling about knowing that it was light outside. I mean, not saying that I would have left, just saying I can see where Kevin may have thought that she would be okay. It's light outside. So, when I first was thinking of it, I'm like, man, there's no way that I would leave you. Let's say you and I went to a club and I got kicked out. I would not leave in the middle of the night or if it's dark out. Now, during the day, if I'd been intoxicated, I might feel less concerned, I suppose. And remember, it's 2010. There's no Uber, so a taxi is how they got to the club. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, it was light, but it was just one of those things like the mind just instantly thought it was dark out.
As the day passed and Paula remained missing, Kevin finally reached out to Paula's family in Michigan to notify them of the situation. It was at this point that the gravity of the situation began to sink in for everyone involved. With no other leads to pursue, Kevin made the difficult decision to hire a private investigator. Now, this is all within 24 hours of her going missing. He's already getting a private investigator involved. Together, they tirelessly canvassed South Beach, distributed flyers in the hope that someone might have seen or heard something that could shed light on Paula's disappearance.
When there was no sign of Paula, Kevin called the local medical examiner's office to see if Paula could have been there. Now, it turns out there was a Jane Doe that had been burned beyond recognition that was found in a flaming dumpster. And Paula was eventually identified by pictures of her earrings that were found on the body. So they had found these earrings, a little messed up, but then going through pictures that Kevin had on his phone, they were able to determine that, yes, in fact, those were her earrings.
That's how Kevin identified her, but she wasn't officially identified until they got her dental records.
Correct, yes.
So Paula was last seen alive at 7:21 a.m. on Sunday, January 3rd, 2010 at Club Space in Miami. Grainy CCTV footage depict her leaving Club Space, possibly accompanied by a large, dark-skinned man with a crew cut and a tight-cropped beard.
And grainy CCTV video is a bit of an understatement.
In the video, two men initially talking in the club lobby move to exit right after Paula leaves. These two are believed to be a member of the staff and a member of the management of Club Space. But the video is so hard to see, we can't be 100% sure. It's clear in the video the guys followed her out, said David Wasser, the private investigator.
Kevin said he still thinks one of the bouncers from Club Space had something to do with her murder. He believes there may have been a scheme amongst Club Space bouncers to make a play for Sladewski, kind of get him out of the picture and get her alone. She walks out of the frame, and immediately after, the two bouncers, just like immediately, they go out. That's what I see, Kevin said. He's basically referring to what he's looking at on the video. Now, however, security manager Mike Samuels disagrees with Kevin's theory, claiming the bouncers weren't following Paula out, but were following him to make sure there weren't any more problems after they both had got into an altercation and were being ejected. Now, a month after the murder, police released a sketch of the suspect, who Samuels said never worked for Club Space and could not have been in the club because he was seen wearing shorts, which is against a very, very strict dress code. Now, a light-skinned African-American male with a fully groomed beard is how Samuels described him. They literally walked off holding hands as if they were a couple. Now, police said that no bouncers matched the suspect, but Kevin says that the sketch kind of looks like one of the bouncers from that night. I just have a problem with believing that it's the bouncers, and I think we've discussed this off mic about how, this is Miami. I mean, I understand Paula is absolutely gorgeous. She's a beautiful woman. But I can't believe that she's the only beautiful woman in Miami, the most beautiful woman going into club space, that she would be there. And I can't believe she's the only one that was flirting with all the guys, because I feel like that was something to be common in Miami. Mm-hmm. So I just have a hard time believing it was the bouncers. There's no history of this. I mean, Paula was the only one that this occurred with. You know, and not to mention the owner of Club Space did put up $15,000 reward for information that would help find the person responsible, which would lead me to believe that if another employee knew of this, or, you know, word got around, that he'd be like, hey, I can cash in on 15 grand. I'm going to rat this guy out and get a check.
Right.
I just don't feel like it's a bouncer. I mean, however, Kevin was more involved in the situation. Obviously he would have more insight, but I just don't feel in the research we've done that might be the case.
Well, the dumpster where she was found was approximately 12 miles away from the club on a dead-end street in an industrial area, meaning she likely had to have been transported there. She didn't walk
Absolutely
to the dumpster.
That's 12 miles.
And the area where it was found, it's hard to explain it. And you know what we will do? We have some screenshots. One of our team members in the Themis Project did some screenshots of the area of a map, and it's tucked away. It's a tucked away area in an industrial park. It just makes you think that whoever put her there knew the area. It wasn't, you know, a tourist, or it had to, I feel very strongly that it had to have been a local. So Detective Michael Gaudio added that the dumpster where Paula's body was found was out of the way and in a deserted area. That's exactly what I just said. And he says that this suggests the killer knew the area and lived or worked nearby. Sergeant Gaudio said there is an 8 to 10 hour gap of time between when Paula left Club Space and when her body was found that cannot be accounted for. So where was she? Who was she with? What happened to her? Now, I think the answer lies in the few minutes when Paula left the club. Again, her boyfriend was kicked out and left in a cab, so he was gone.
Yeah, Kevin was interrogated by police for over 12 hours. I mean, he agreed to whatever they wanted. He was like, hey, I'm here. Ask me what you want. Get me through the process. I want to find Paula. I mean, he agreed to polygraph test. He gave them DNA swabs. Whatever they needed, he gave it to them.
There's also CCTV footage of him entering their hotel and not leaving again. So although it's usually the husband or the boyfriend in these cases, in this case, I really don't think it is.
Well, there's also footage of Kevin going into local stores, and he's showing pictures on his phone of Paula asking. Yes. He actually was handing out money to homeless people, showing pictures like, hey, have you seen this girl? So, I mean, he was putting it out there. He was trying to find Paula.
Yeah. But who did this to Paula is where we're at. So a couple things that I kind of want to point out. Firstly, the presence of both an employee and a member of management, if that's who they were, in the CCTV footage from the club when Paula was leaving, indicates the seriousness of the situation surrounding Paula's departure. It suggests that her departure from the premises is not an ordinary occurrence, and that certain protocols or certain concerns necessitated the involvement of a higher-ranking individual from the club. Are you following me?
Yeah, I got you.
And furthermore, the fact that Paula is escorted by both an employee and a member of management suggests a level of official scrutiny or supervision. Now, this could imply that Paula's actions or behaviors inside the club were deemed significant enough to warrant close attention during her exit. Now, is it possible she may have been involved in an incident that required monitoring or intervention in between the time when Kevin was kicked out and when she left? And there's a lot of conflicting information, but from my understanding, was Kevin was asked to leave the club.
What happened is they were dancing. Paula was dancing. He was getting frustrated. So he's like, look, I'm ready to go. He goes up and he grabs her arm and says, hey, let's go. And when she jerked her arm away from him, that's what the witnesses say. That's when security stepped in.
Well, so security escorted Kevin out. She was going to stay. According to him, he was going to wait for her, but then the bouncer went back in and she supposedly told the bouncer she was going to stay. Now, several minutes later, literally within 20 minutes after Kevin had left, now Paula's being escorted out. What happened in that couple minutes? What could have happened? Did she piss someone off? Did she come on to somebody who took her seriously and maybe she was just flirting, but this person was like, oh yeah, I'm taking this girl home, or you know what I mean?
According to some reports, they claim that it's protocol at Club Space that when one person if you have a couple in there that's fighting, one person is escorted out. So they separate them, and then one's escorted out. They both have to leave, but they leave enough gap time in between where one can get out and be gone before the other one leaves. And that way there's no conflict inside the club, and then they both have to be escorted. But that's why the manager, supposedly, according to Club Space employees, that's why the manager was involved, because he wanted to go out and make sure that Kevin wasn't there and that what had happened inside the club didn't escalate outside the club.
Okay.
Now,
all right. That makes sense.
And again, that's just a report that I found. It doesn't necessarily mean it's fact. It's just, that's a report that I found. And when you're dealing with these cases, when there's minimal information and it's sort of that, I want to say, what they call boilerplate information that everybody gives out, you try to find some of the details to sort of steer. But that's what we can understand that happened in this case. That's why they were let out at different times. That's why the manager was involved. And again, that's according to one of the reports from the employee.
Well, the lack of additional camera footage leaves unanswered questions about Paula's whereabouts and highlights the need for a thorough investigation. Obviously. Can
I just put a little they call this a caveat, I guess. Not a caveat, but CCTV footage, you can find it online. We might even post it. It is horrible.
It is horrible. You can't even tell.
But they had to check in and clock in with thumbprint technology. So they use fingerprint technology to clock in the employees, the bouncers, and everybody that worked at Club Space. But they couldn't afford, apparently, some CCTV that would actually get you some quality footage.
Well, yeah, that's unfortunate. And as we said, the lead detective who worked on Paula's case, he told CBS News that it's likely the killer lived in the vicinity where he dumped Paula. He also knew the place well, and investigators also suspected that the killer killed her elsewhere and then brought her to the dumpster.
Yeah, because they believe she died from strangulation.
Right.
And then set on fire.
All right, let's take a quick break and we'll be right back.
And we're back.
Okay, so it's incredibly frustrating when a case seems to hit a dead end, and that's exactly what's happened in this particular case. It's like all the leads have just vanished into thin air, leaving us with nothing to chase down. It's like we're stuck in this vicious cycle of no suspects, no new leads, and no process. But then the plot thickens. Crystal, who I mentioned earlier, she's one of our Themis board members, she brought up an interesting point the other day that there was a similar murder in Miami 11 years after Paula's. So check this out. 57-year-old Alan Thomas was arrested in July of 2021 for the murder of a woman who to this day remains unidentified, whom he set on fire and dumped by some railroad tracks. Now, these railroad tracks run near the dumpster where Paula was found. Now, that's certainly something worth looking into, because could these two cases be connected? Is there a pattern here that we've been missing all along? If there is a connection, it could potentially provide us with the breakthrough we've been seeking. You know, perhaps there's some commonalities between the two cases that could help us identify a suspect or at least give us more direction. Sometimes it's these unexpected connections that can open up a whole new avenues in an investigation, you know? Mm-hmm. We might hit a roadblock before, but this new insight has maybe can breathe some fresh life into the case.
Yeah, I'd be real curious if investigators had a chance to get involved and actually followed up on a lead like that. But again, this occurred several years after Paula's death, where the connection may not have been made. But then again, you never know. Maybe they did because of the MO. They just
haven't said anything
exactly.
yet.
Maybe they did, and they investigated it, and then kind of, they sort of, vetted it and said, okay, this is not this. There's no connection. But it's definitely an interesting concept.
Well, Alan Thomas has quite a staggering rap sheet that stretches back to the early 1980s. His lengthy criminal history is no secret, and it paints a picture of a man who has had a turbulent relationship with the law. From petty crimes to more serious offenses, Thomas seems to have a knack for finding himself on the wrong side of the tracks. One thing that bothers me, and I know that Kevin Kline has gotten a lot of flack about it, and Ken just mentioned this earlier, but why did he go back to the hotel and not wait for Paula outside? And I think you kind of answered that earlier when you said that it was light outside.
Well, they had just been fighting, they had gotten into it, and he's, I'm sure that there was like a culmination of feelings and emotions between the two throughout the night. So they'd probably been fighting and arguing because she's dancing. He's not liking it.
Yeah.
He can't watch that, but then he's just dealing with it. And then finally maybe he burst. So when she didn't want to leave, he's like, fine, you stay here. I'm leaving. And then he just leaves. And of course he leaves, and he's got bouncers escorting him out. He's already angry. He gets there and he's like, I'm going to hail a cab. And I'm sure there's cabs that wait outside that club. Because if you've been to Miami or a big city, you understand there's cabs everywhere, at least back then. And I'm sure that that's probably what prompted him to leave. He was just mad at the situation, figuring, you know what? She's a big girl. She'll make it home. And remember, she worked as an exotic dancer in Detroit. I mean, she was working at these nightclubs, so she can handle herself well. She knew how to handle men. She knew how to handle advances. I'm sure that working in a nightclub, or as an exotic dancer in Detroit, you go to leave the club. I'm sure there's been some conflict that she's dealt with. So he probably felt that maybe she would be okay in this situation. I don't think I would feel that way, but maybe he did. I mean, obviously we don't know Paula as well as Kevin does. So
I just think that things could have turned out very differently if he had just waited for her. I think the key is, in just a general sense, is buddy system. I don't know if there's a better way to put that, but don't leave your people. Reflecting on Paula's situation and the similarities with a recent case that we've all been following is Riley Strain's case. He's the 22-year-old student who vanished just a few weeks ago in Nashville after being asked to leave Luke's 32 Bridge Food and Drink. That's country singer Luke Bryan's restaurant and bar. And his body was found in a river 2 weeks later. So it's evident that allowing impaired individuals to leave establishments unattended can lead to tragic outcomes. That's what I'm trying to say.
Well, you got to bring Brian Schaefer case into this as well.
Well, I was going to say something about Brian Schaefer, except for with Brian Schaefer, there's not footage of him even leaving that building. So that's a whole nother
We can only assume that he left the building, but there's another case where he was out having a few drinks and then just vanished into thin air.
He got separated from friends.
Yeah.
I'm turning this into an after school special, like buddy system, look out for your friends, yada, yada, yada. But, I think establishments need to prioritize the safety of their customers and take proactive measures to prevent these types of incidents. I'm not just Paula, not just Riley Strain, not just Brian Schaefer, but how many people have left a bar on their own and then something happened? If you give me 5 minutes, I could probably rattle off names, but I'm not going to right now. So, especially women, and I'm not being anti-feminist or whatnot, but the fact of the matter is women are the more vulnerable sex. If they have been drinking, if it is dark, if they're leaving a club, if they're alone, that's a recipe for bad juju. And I think we would be remiss if we didn't at least touch on the ex-boyfriend theory, the David Coleman theory.
That is true, because he was going to be in Vegas. I think he wanted to see Paula, and there's an interview somewhere.
This is just a rumor, a theory, a rabbit hole that I've seen while investigating this case, was that he lived, that the two remained close, and he lived 10 minutes from them in California, which Kevin did not like. And he was going to be in Las Vegas for New Year's, and that they had planned, and Paula and Kevin had planned to be in Las Vegas. Now, as the story goes, Kevin wanted to find a way to not go to Vegas, and somehow scored these Lady Gaga tickets for Miami so they could go to Miami instead. I'm not saying that this David Coleman somehow went to Miami and did something to Paula or whatever, but there's just a little something funny going on there that I think that just needs to be in the back of your mind if you were to be investigating this case. So, in the aftermath of the tragic events that unfolded on that fateful day, Paula's fate remains a subject of speculation and uncertainty. Despite exhaustive searches and relentless efforts by authorities, the identity of Paula's killer remains unknown.
Now, authorities ask anyone with any information regarding the murder of Paula Sladewski to contact the North Miami Police Department at 305-891-0294. So again, if you see something, say something. Somebody knows something. And it could be that this is a common practice. Maybe it's not just this club, it's other clubs, but somebody's told this story to someone. Someone knows what's happening. Paula's killer needs to be found. This was brutal and heinous, and I can't imagine that this is going to be the only person that this occurs with. So it's imperative that Paula's killer be found. So again, if you have any information, contact the North Miami Police Department, 305-891-0294.
And again, the Florida Themis Project is doing a public awareness campaign for this case for the month of April. So if you see us post on social medias, please share this episode. It would be a great help. Every share, every person that sees it, you never know, you might reach the right person.
And the Florida Themis Project is accepting donations. You can contact us through our website. And also, we are doing case sponsors. As you've seen in some of the previous episodes, or you go through some of our social media blasts that we've done in previous cases, we are looking for monthly case sponsors. So please contact us. You can contact us on the website.
FloridaThemisProject.org.
Yep, FloridaThemisProject.org.
All right, everyone. That's it for this episode.
Please remember to check out our website for links to all of our social media, our Patreon, our merch store, and much, much more.
And please make sure to subscribe to the show on whatever platform you're listening on, and rate and review. This really helps us branch out and reach a wider audience.
And as always, thank you all for listening
to Paradise After Dark.
Dark, dark, dark.